All right, doing well. So I'll go work through any of these problems. I made an adjustment in the schedule. I moved the quiz from tomorrow to Thursday. I know most of you are gonna send angry emails later about that, but all right.
I actually have my drafted out.
Huh?
I actually have my drafted out.
All right. What kind of questions did you see on 157, 158 I could help you out with? Yes.
Number 9.
9. You live longer than this regression model predicts. Is that positive or negative residual? Ooh. Live longer than what they have. So is that positive or negative residual? I would say, okay.
Wait, sir, that's not what we're looking at.
What page are we
We're
on?
looking at James was a salesman.
What page are you on?
158.
Oh, there's 2 9s.
Oh. Yeah, I meant the one on the back.
Okay, no, that's okay. No, I apologize that we misnumbered. Let's see. James was a salesman who was given an extroversion score of 70 and a sales score of 55. What is his residual? Show your calculation. Okay. So this is number 9 on the back. So they gave us a sales score. Score, if I could spell, it'd be better. Equals 56, and that's a point. 56. Where are you saying 55?
Yeah,
We gave him a sales score of 55.
oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, it's for this specific
Oh, okay, I see.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
I was looking at the one on top.
I was getting confused.
436, and that's the extra score. Okay, and they say they have a residual of 0.0872. So our R score is that. So our line of best fit was 0.0872, which pretty close to 0. That's pretty cruddy. But hey, so then number 9 says that he has an extra score of 70 and a sales score of 55. Okay, so the point that you're using is 70 comma 55. Okay, so we want to see if this was, what was his residual? So the 55 we're going to eventually use, but what I need to do is I need to plug this in to right here. Okay, so let's go with some calculator. Quit out of that. Clear. All right, so I have 56.65783 minus 0.0254436. Oops. 0.02. Oops, I got one too many numbers in there. And we're going to go times his, what did we say it was? 70 comma 55, so times 70. So that comes 54.877. Once I plug that in, I get 54.877. So we're going to take our get that math, so that's plugged in. So I just want to double check one thing, make sure I get it right in the right way. Predicted cholesterol residual. Okay, where is? Oh, the notes are back here. Come on, Stirrup. Taking the time. Okay, so okay. So we're gonna go 54.877 minus the 55. Okay, so it's the y minus the y hat, where this would have been y hat. Or wait, that would have been y. This would have been y hat. Yes, that's right. All right, so I'm going to go 55 minus, someone have a calculator, 55, subtract 54.877.
0.1226.
0 point,
I did the whole list.
go ahead.
Okay, 0.1226.
Okay,
Just 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Okay, so he has a residual value, so he is over, so that data point would have been over top of his thing, so, oh crud, what page we on? 157. So, show your calculation. His residual was 0.123. So that means that his data point would have been above the top of the line of best fit. So he overperformed, I guess, in that case. What else did you see, friends? 157, 158. Anything you want to take a look at?
So then how do you explain the residual in the context of the question?
He overperformed or whatever this extra scores. So it says that he was an extroverted people make better salespeople. So he overperformed what was predicted.
Okay, and then James just did not. Because James' residual
Is 0.123, right?
yeah, but then for number 10, the other guy's residual is plus 16. So then he just way overperformed.
Yeah. Emmanuel went through the roof. It was like, oh, this is salesman of the month, and then they realized these are the numbers wrong. And yeah, so there's a predicted value. You have three different options. You perform exactly how expected. You underperform, which would give you a negative score, meaning you're under it, or you got a positive score, which is above it. Okay. What else do we see? What else would you like to take a look at? Good? Happy? Content? No one's sad? And Geo wins the extreme weather. I think that's very creative. We just need to get a bird stuck to you.
Exactly. I'm gonna do a little newspaper right there, but I didn't have it.
Gotcha. I like it. I like it. All right. So again, we will have the quiz moved till Thursday. You can blame CP Algebra 1 for that because I was giving them their test tomorrow, and I just don't like testing in all my classes. I get so bored. It's like, oh.
Don't you have a dog in there?
I do, yeah. That dog's awesome.
I was about to say, was that dog show up every week?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Got it? Service dog, and she often says, dog's off duty. Stirrup gets puppy time. So, hey, a couple of you need to finish a quiz. Josh, you got a couple things. Nadia, you want to disposed. Let's start getting those made up. Let's get them made up by. Oh, is that today? Cool. I got you. Do what?
I did not appreciate I know,
All right. 2, 8. Yes.
What exactly is the panel on?
It's 2.4 to 2.6. We will do the review tomorrow. Yes. No, that'll be a different quiz, different time. But I am going to go ahead and teach 2.8 today. Boy. All right. Ready? Set. Ready, set, here I go. All right. So tomorrow we will be looking at the review for 2.4 to 2.6. Thursday we will quiz 2.4 to 2.6. But today I am going to go ahead and teach you all 2-8, which is not on the quiz. Is that okay?
So then when is our 2, 7, and 8 quiz?
Later. Sometime next week. Cool?
So the homework from last night is not on the quiz?
It will not, no.
Okay.
Cool. And then we have a whole review sheet that we will do tomorrow during class time. Okay? All right. So 2-8. I am on page 48 of the notes if you wanted to go there. Residuals need to be studied closely, and there is a new data display that we can create to study all of them simultaneously. It's called the residual plot, which simply is a scatter plot in which the values of the explanatory variable are plotted against the residual for each data point. In effect, it merely replaces the response, the y value, which is L2, with the residuals. So they have that on a diagram. But I think I still have this in the calculator. So we had done some data the other day that I kept in here. So if I took a look at the scatter plot for L1 and L2, which we have, zoom 9, and that's my line of best fit in there. Okay? That's for L1 and L2, my X and my Y values. But if you recall, I found the residual value yesterday. And let's see, that was under what? Stat. I forget where it was at. Stat, calculate. No. Where did I find the residual? The residual on the calculator was found in a location that I thought I wouldn't forget. Second list, thank you. Second list. And then you go to second list, number 7 is the residual. So we found that, and what that basically gives you is a big old list. There's a way to store that and I stored it in L3. So what I can do with my stat plot is this. I can go back to second stat plot and say that I want to do list 1 and list 3 now, and I'm going to keep my line of best fit in there. And you just do second L3, and then zoom 9. So those are our residual values. Now you notice that my line of best fit isn't fitting there right now, so I can zoom out. Oops, zoom 3. So take a look at this was our line of best fit. Our original data kind of went around that line, but we changed it. These are all residual values. Those residual values, you can tell right now, are all away from our line of best fit if I did the residuals correctly. Okay? So the residual stat plot doesn't really fit real nicely a lot of times. It actually kind of looks like a big old clump of mud that you threw against the wall. Okay? So on page 48, it says the left scatter plot shows the explanatory variable, the response variable, and the linear regression line. The residual plot on the right has merely replaced the response variable with the residual values for that point. Taking a quick look at the 2 leftmost orange points, which we can't see, but he has an arrow pointing to it, are the extreme lower left corner. We can see that both slightly below the regression line. That is, the regression equation would have predicted slightly higher result for a response variable. In the residual plot, both points are the leftmost points, again, show residual value is about negative 0.6, which simply means that the response was 0.6 points below the regression equation as was predicted. So a couple things that, we, especially in CP Algebra 1, because that's what I teach and I've taught it for a while, we give a quiz or a test every year, and they're all very similar from each year. Sometimes we will go in and say, let's take a look at this quiz. Should we keep these questions? Should we add some questions so we make something different? And there's a lot of times where someone will pull back up saying, hey, I know that last year we averaged about this. And then you could sit there and actually, if I collected everyone's data from year to year, I could say, oh, okay, it looks like we have a line of best fit of this, so we're expecting about this type of value. Oh, look, this current year, students did as expected, or they did more poorly, or they did better. And I would say sometimes students might do more poorly from one year to the next, or better from one year to the next, depending upon what took place. We all know that last year was a much goofier year of learning and a goofier year of teaching than we have ever experienced in our life. So I would predict, just by kind of a thought process, that I would have students in my CP Algebra 1 that might do a little bit worse than what they had done in years past, but that wasn't really the case this year. And there's a few things that can attribute to it. It's not because kids necessarily learned more in my content from CP Algebra 1. I have a lot of students that they probably, as freshmen, would have been in accelerated Algebra 1, but because last year was a goofy year, their parents felt it was a little safer to put them in CP Algebra 1. And so I have some of my students that are doing much better than expected, but they, in any traditional year, in years past, where we didn't have COVID, I probably would not have had those students in my class. Okay, so it kind of is a miseffect, but then you kind of can make excuses, or come up with ideas of why certain classes did better. So my data is a little bit goofy because I have kids that were in the accelerated track, even though they didn't have that in middle school, that are choosing, because things were not done as correctly as it had been in the past, that they switched from accelerated to being CP, and so I have a little bit higher score. So that's just kind of a goofy thought about what's taking place with that. Two questions commonly come up with this point. Why do we need a residual plot when we can see the amount of error each point possesses on the original scatter plot? The residual plot creates a visual display in which errors, the distance each point is from the regression line, are exaggerated. The residual plot often makes patterns emerge more clearly. And then what do we look for in a residual plot? We look for patterns. When you detect any distinct pattern of a residual plot, it usually means that your prediction model has room for improvement. Okay, so think about that. Are there cruddy surveys that are done? Yeah. Okay, telephone surveys used to be a very accepted version to collect data, but how many of you have actually gone through an actual phone survey? Or did you hit, it says potential scam, and you don't have a friend named potential scam, so you don't answer it, right? So those are some things that are taking place, and statisticians are starting to realize who are the people who are really answering their phones and doing surveys. A lot of time it's the old people who are bored. Oh, thank God my phone rang and my kids haven't called me. So yeah, I'm going to take time to answer this. Who's not going to do a survey? Well, any of you. Stir up is often the person you don't want to do a survey, because I know how to mess with their data. And it's like, so like the first question I'll give an extremely satisfied answer to, the second question extremely dissatisfied, and I'll just keep going back and forth. So my data stinks. Okay, and they're like, hey, look at this guy. Oh, So then you have to start thinking, who's really giving us the good data? This stirrup guy, we're just going to keep calling him to mess with him. I had a guy call me yesterday and said, you don't have enough life insurance. I'm like, how do you know how much life insurance I have? He goes, well, we can see it here. I said, what are you looking at? And he goes, well, tell me your age. I'm like, so you're telling me I don't have enough life insurance, but yet you don't know my age? He goes, well, that's not available. I said, so how much life insurance do I have? And he spews out a number. I'm like, that number is completely incorrect. I mean, I shouldn't have my phone on during third period or fourth period when I'm off because I'm that guy. So the guy's like, how do you know if you are good with your life insurance? I'm like, I own everything. I have plenty of money. I do have life insurance. I'm worth more dead than I am alive. And my wife keeps putting the pillow over my face every night to take me out of the equation. I'm just kidding, but she only did that one. I'm kidding. So it's kind of funny. If you ever talk to an insurance salesman, you will never have enough life insurance in their opinion. You could have $1 billion in life insurance, and they're like, that's not enough. I'm like, you realize my net worth is only like $1 million, and you're saying I should have $1 billion? So it gets a little silly. On page 49, they have these residual value plots that look like this. Okay, no, I'm not going to plot all the points, and there was a couple that were up here. Okay, there's always a distinct pattern. So if you look on there, the graph does look like it follows like this kind of thing. So it becomes some weird polynomial. Okay, did you really find a pattern as a polynomial? I doubt it. It's just a lot of times you might get something that takes place. Again, what should you do to get more data? Well, the problem with doing statistics the correct way, you're talking about a lot of money and a lot of people that are involved in collecting data. Is the person A who's on the phone as effective as a data collector as person B on the phone? Are there questions that are asked as far as a phone thing that might lead you to guess a certain way? And the answer is yes. And can the person who's administering a survey, if you have a scale of 1 to 10 where 10's the best and 1's the worst, would you like 1 that's worst, 2 that's a little better, 3 is even better, 4 is better than that, 5 is even better, 6 is great, 7's awesome, 8 is fantastic? And then they're all motivated, and you're like, oh man, I feel great about myself, it's a 10. So they led you to something. So a lot of times they have computer automation, which we all know computer automation is a good hang-up call for us because I don't want to talk to a computer. So they say on page 49, there are distinct patterns to a residual plot. This says before 1996, the response variable is always lower than the regression prediction. Between 2000 and 2002, the response variable is always higher than a prediction. After 2003, the response variable is always lower. We have a good feel of the way the regression model is making errors. Shouldn't there be a way to fix those errors? The quick way is yes. When our regression model is showing distinct patterns to a way that's making errors, we should search for a new model. Okay? If you're not getting what you think in statistics, you should probably think, am I asking the right questions? Are they being conveyed the right way? Down below on page 49, it says there's a study of a weather phenomena, and the following residual was given. There's no distinct pattern of any kinds of errors in this regression model that's making it implies we have a model that's a good fit for the data, and we might not need to look forward to better data. Okay, so let's hit a hot button. Okay? Global warming. We've heard it, yes?
We believe it, yeah.
We believe it? Okay, sure. Okay, now, here is my question on the whole global warming. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. Don't go run your science teacher saying Stirrup is an anti-global warming advocate. I am not. But, friends, is global warming as bad as they think? Or are they making it worse than it is so somebody can profit?
Who is profiting?
Who would be profiting? Who, what's that? Do what?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. No, but who's profiting off of the sky is falling? Who do you think? Yeah. Yeah, what corporations in general? Insurance? Insurance that might be booming?
Companies that are trying to be eco-friendly.
Solar?
Eco-friendly.
Solar companies? Do you think solar might be profiting? Okay, the more people that put solar panels on a house, yes. Do I think it's better for the environment to have solar panels put on the house? Well, I say yes. I have solar on my house. I produce 130% of what I use. Xcel Energy pays me back credits of 25% of what they charge everybody else for the electricity that they push to their house. So I think solar is a good idea. Now, this is what I don't know about solar. This is what I really don't know about solar. How much energy and resources were consumed to produce the solar panels? Okay? Like you can show like a data model all day long saying, "Hey, look, this is great. The more people with solar, this." But there's also times when they might do something saying, "Oh, darn. More people with solar is showing a negative correlation." Okay? It depends what you're testing. Okay? I have an electric car. I love this electric car. It is the most peaceful drive each and every morning because when you pull up to a light, you hear nothing except for my radio, which I had kind of a fun song on this morning on the way to school. Rapper's Delight came on. It's like, dude, that's a 12-minute song. My drive's only 10 minutes. So I'm out in the parking lot, woohoo, hanging out. Of course, I was sitting at the light and the arrow turned and the guy behind me started honking and he started telling me I was number one, but he wasn't using this finger to say I was number one. And so I looked back at him and I let him know that I was number one as well. And I wasn't using this. I'm just kidding. I'm just joshing. I wasn't doing that. So I want you to just I want you to be critical thinkers. I don't want you to always fall into a sales pitch. Okay? The guy who comes to sell you the solar panels increases his or her pay based on the amount that they sell. So it's like the insurance salesman who wants to sell me more life insurance. That salesperson is going to gain more and more money getting more and more people to do this. I had friends that used to work for University of Phoenix. And they were not teachers, but what they would do is they would go out and solicit people to get higher and higher degrees towards education. So, I got a master's degree many years ago. I got a master's degree not because I wanted to have a master's degree. I got a master's degree because having a master's degree paid me about 30% more in pay than what I would have stayed just with a bachelor's degree. So there was a huge incentive, and there still is an incentive as a teacher to get higher degrees. Okay, does my master's degree in education, administration, and supervision help you in my classroom? No, it has not improved me as a teacher at all. But basically, how a teacher's pay goes, in this district, a teacher's base salary is basically this. And then you can take credit hours beyond your bachelor's. So, me as a teacher wanting to make more, I make a lot less here. I get a master's, I start making more. But as a teacher, all teachers want to get to this location. That's 60 credit hours beyond the master's degree being posted. Okay, master's degree is only 40 credits, so basically I've taken enough credits to satisfy 2 master's degree. There's very few teachers that will say, I'm just going to stick with a bachelor's degree and I'm never going to get any more. So if that person with a bachelor's degree, yes, as far as years of service, the very first column here will go from 46,500 to about 70,000. And this is years of service or years of teaching. Where you want to be as a teacher is you want to have years of teaching with a master's plus 60, because this gets you up to about $98,000 a year. Okay? So is there a difference in pay from $70,000 to $98,000? Heck yeah. Is it worth the $12,000 my master's degree cost me back in 1996? Am I gaining a lot more income because of it? Yeah. Have I become a better teacher because of my master's? No. Okay, so I followed the game. Now, I had friends that worked for University of Phoenix again, and they would go and solicit people to get masters and PhDs, and they profited. The more people they got into their programs, they got paid more and more money on it. I remember my friend Todd was telling me, he goes, I have an 86-year-old woman who lives in Anchorage, Alaska, I convinced to go get her master's degree. What does an 86-year-old woman need to do with a master's degree? But he profited. So the more education people get doesn't necessarily reflect on job performance. Okay? Do you want your doctor to have a medical doctorate? Sure. I kind of like the fact that if I have to go in and have a procedure done, I don't want the guy going, I'm still a freshman in high school, but I'm going to cut a section out of your liver. Kind of want the guy who went to medical school to do that. Okay, so some degrees mean something. Some degrees just mean an increase in pay. Okay, the majority of the teachers here at Creek have at least a master's degree. Okay, so there are profits that are made because of certain scenarios. But again, that's just how things were set up. So residual graphs, your line of best fit graph looks like this. Line of best fit. The residual graph, you might have this. Okay? So your line of best fit doesn't really fit with the residual. Where you start seeing things that are far away, okay, that might mean we might need to re-examine what we're trying to inspire and buy. Okay, so that residual stuff, it's good. It often will tell you, did we have something that was good or bad or indifferent? And it drives me absolutely crazy when, a school might say, hey, look, we had better SAT scores or ACT scores. Does that mean that teaching got better at that school? No. My gosh, how many of you have gone over to Sacamano or had some other tutoring center some point in your life? There's a lot of times people do. Okay? I just lost train of thought. When I was at Chaparral, we would take a look at our SAT and ACT, and we'd see that our statistics score was lower because it breaks down into categories. So what did we do to try and improve our statistics scores? We would do some stats in our math classes. Algebra 1 had statistics. Geometry had statistics. Algebra 2 would have statistics. Pre-calc would have statistics. Calculus would have statistics. Okay? So we taught towards the test. And then the following year, it's like, hey, look, our stats scores came up. Yay, it must be working. And I used to be sitting there going, you guys are crazy. Okay? It didn't improve the education. It allowed us to teach towards the test to be directive. Okay? All right. How do we feel? Am I good? Everyone happy? I'm alive and kicking. That's all I wanted to be. I got up this morning. Seemed like a good day. All right. So, we're going to take a look at, for you all, is 159 through 161. And I will tell you that we will make this due on Friday. But I will have the opportunity, and please remind me tomorrow because you know Stirrup forgets things. But we'll have that due on Friday. We'll do a little bit of it tomorrow, but I mainly want to focus more on 2.4 to 2.6. Then we have a quiz. So, but that's what I have planned. Sound good? Everyone happy?
Yeah.